Kia ora. In my earlier video called My Dirty Tank, I set up an aquarium without using the somewhat expensive commercial substrates that are available. Now, I wasn't trying to set up a deep bed, self-sufficient wall stag type tank, but instead I was just going back to the methods that I used in the past. And as an experiment, I tried introducing plants that I found growing in the garden. Little did I know the problem that I was creating. Now, I already had in one tank a plant called Cerurus cernuus, also known as lizard's tail or mouse ears. Now, it doesn't really grow in low light, but my one had struggled on for a couple of years. So I thought a few more of those would be okay. And it just so happens that I had growing next to it a couple more of that same type of plant which I'd found from the garden. Although they hadn't been in the tank very long, they were putting out new growth, and as you can see, they grow from a tuber. In the garden, they come out of the ground midwinter and die back during midsummer. I've never noticed any flowers associated with them. We had purchased them as mouse ears about 10 or so years ago, and I believe them to be the same plant. So I dug out a few, cleaned them up, and planted them. My new setup didn't really look pristine for too long, as diatoms, cyanobacteria and algae took hold, as is quite often the case with the new setup. The waterlogged leaves of the mouse ears died off, as I knew they would, and I waited for the new growth, and waited, and waited. By now I was beginning to wonder whether the plants that I was trying to grow were indeed Cerurus cernuus. As let's face it, any plant that has leaves like a mouse ear will be called a mouse ear. So I took some photos of the outside plants and then did a number of searches using the photo and Google Lens to try to identify them. And to my surprise, they did not come up with the answer I was expecting. It was being identified as something called Typhonium blumei. Okay, Mr. Wiki, what is Typhonium blumei?
Typhonium blumei, also known as dwarf voodoo lily. Native to Asia, it is a clump-forming tuberous deciduous perennial with triangular glossy lobed mid to dark green leaves and long foul-smelling maroon flowers in summer. All parts of the plant contain calcium oxalate crystals, an irritant to the mouth and esophagus, especially toxic to cats and dogs. I do not know about your fish, check if they are still alive. I do not know if they are also called mouse ears, maybe the leaf resembles the shape of a dead mouse's ear.
Well, there you have it. Toxic plants in my tank. Now fortunately all the fish are doing well, no sign of any distress or illness. The main thing, they're alive. Now I have dug up some of the tubers to see if they were decomposing, and I found that they had not decomposed at all. And I'm just beginning to wonder whether they will burst into life when the plants outside do, which will be midwinter. Although I very much doubt that. Maybe those tubers remain a ticking time bomb for the fish. I still don't really know what the plant is, although it does highlight the risk involved with introducing things like this into your tank. Although it will not stop me from pushing boundaries. And as for the other plants that I found in the garden, well, both the Tripartia and the Hydrocotyle eventually died off. They did put on new growth with very small emergent leaves, but those little leaves couldn't compete against the algae and was smothered. But it is something I'll try again once the conditions have stabilised and I've got rid of all of that algae. Well, it's all a learning experience, which makes the hobby even more interesting. Thank you for watching. Ka kite anō.